to the Spurs Fan Cave Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Garcia. I'm joined with my very special guest today, all the way from Corpus Christi, Texas, Thomas, the Spurs dude, Vega.
Hey, what's going on, Spurs fans?
And we'd just like to give a big shout out to our Spurs Fan Cave brothers, Martin M. Dominguez, Leonard, the Wee Man Johnson. I love you, Leonard. It's going to be your birthday, brother. I'm going to be at your party Saturday. And Rick, Spurs Nation Vela, Old School McGee. We can't forget about you, Old School McGee. Andrea
Mhm.
Morales, Deidra Angulo. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you for everything you do. And also Jacqueline. Appreciate you. All right, Thomas. We're going to start off with today. It's kind of a sore topic. We kind of wrote a post about this yesterday, and it got a lot of heat and got people going. But let's talk about it. It was a post that we put on the Spurs Fan Cave fan page yesterday on Facebook and was talking about ESPN. And they said Spurs ranked number 2 in the West behind the Golden State Warriors. And I asked the question, do you agree, Spurs fans? A lot of you didn't agree with that. Everybody was hurt, saying that the Golden State Warriors are going to go over there and, they should be number 2 and the Spurs are going to take it this season. But you know what? I'm going to tell you what I think, and then you let me know what you think. All right, Thomas?
Mhm. Alrighty.
I kind of agree with that statement from ESPN, and I'm going to tell you why. When the Spurs won their NBA championship, they were the number 1 seed in the West. Until somebody comes and takes that from you, comes and takes your championship. So I agree with that. I know a lot of Spurs fans are going to be upset, but some of them agreed with that statement. They agreed that the Spurs should be ranked number 2 behind the NBA champs, Golden State Warriors, until they meet, maybe in the Western Conference Finals and they knock them out, and the Spurs go on to the finals this year. Who knows? What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, I think it's a true statement because anytime you win a championship, you're looked at as a team to beat. And right now, the Warriors, they currently have they're the current NBA champions. And just like when the Spurs won it in 2014 against the Heat, they were also looked at as the best team in the NBA until somebody else came and took the crown away. But that's just the way you got to look at it. It's that's the way sports is, and in all sports in general, that's the way. Anytime you have a champion, whether it's in football, basketball, or hockey, or whatever, baseball, that's the team that has the bragging rights because they won it all. So I don't have a problem with that ranking. If I would have had a problem with that ranking had the Clippers been ahead of the Spurs, had some other team have been ahead, then we would have been having some real serious conversation, and I would really be questioning ESPN's logic with that. But I can, I'm okay with that.
In the article, it brought up a very, I guess, poignant topic. It said, and I agree with the statement. They ranked Golden State number 1 in the West because they're the champs. But they also went on in the article to say Golden State is built for the regular season.
Mhm.
What do you think about that? They didn't say that they were built to go deep into the playoffs this year. They said that they were built for the regular season and that they probably have the best record, if not one of the best records in the NBA this year. And what do you have to say about that, Thomas?
Well, yeah, the Warriors, they just won the championship, and I think they're going to have some experience to use that for next year. And but we talked about it too earlier that the Warriors had it easy going to the finals. They really didn't have a great matchup, going to the finals last year,
They
and
had an
they
easy road to
they
the
had an
finals.
easy road, and I think that's what people realize. I think this year is going to be way harder. It's going to be tougher for them to try to win again, and it's hard to win twice. It's
Yeah.
hard, people talk about, oh, repeat. You should have repeated, but different teams look at it different ways. I know the Spurs, they don't really care about that kind of stuff. Even Pops even admitted it. That's not their main focus. It's not their main goal. Like, all right, guys, we just won last year. It's time to win another one in a row. They don't think like that. They win it, they win it. If they don't, they don't. It's Pop will tell you the very same thing because I had just recently saw an interview where he was saying that, and uh, But the Warriors, when you look at the roster, I mean, they did lose David Lee. They lost him to, I forgot where the heck he went.
Yeah, free
Uh,
agency basically.
yeah, free,
He wanted
yeah,
more money.
they lost him. And of course, you're never going to keep the same roster. It's real hard to keep the same guys on the team for years and years and years. It's really hard because the NBA is, there's a bunch of free agency. Other teams want other players, and we saw that with the Spurs too, with Baines leaving, with Joseph leaving, and uh,
Kojo.
yeah. So it's part of the game. It's part of the NBA, but I think this year the Spurs have an advantage on Golden State just because of the acquisitions they were able to get. They got LaMarcus Aldridge, which is a way better player than Thiago Splitter. The Spurs showed last year that even during the regular season that the Spurs could beat the Warriors. There was that one game in San Antonio where they just demolished the Golden State, and I think Kawhi Leonard had about 2 steals on Stephen Curry, and he took over that game, and the Spurs won single handedly, and that was against the Warriors. And
Yeah.
the Spurs have always proven to be that one team that no matter what, they can always knock you off. They'll figure out a way to do it, and if they really want to do it, and if they're motivated to do it, they're going to do it. There's just no doubt about it. We've seen it so many times. It's like I expect it to happen. And
Yeah.
but the Warriors, they're going to be up there as teams contending for a championship.
They're gonna
But
be in
once
the
again,
mix.
they're going to be in the mix. But once again, the Spurs, you know, they're the Spurs are almost like a good batch of coffee.
Mhm.
They're good they're like Ovaltine. Every time you think it's gonna go out of style, and then they come up with better flavors to add to the mix, and I mean they just improve. And the Spurs
Yeah.
adding LaMarcus Aldridge, they got David West, Ray McCallum, which I think is actually a tad bit better than Corey Joseph. I don't know, some people want to argue that, but that's just my opinion. I
Well, it's
think,
because people really haven't seen him play all that much. Being
yeah,
in Sacramento, they don't see a lot of the Sacramento games unless you got NBA
yeah,
TV or the league pass.
yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah.
agree with that
Or,
statement.
and also, just with David West alone, people don't realize the Spurs basically signed an all-star player because David West can play at that level. He's been to an all-star game, I think in 2007 or '08.
Yeah,
You
he's still
know,
got a lot of game left in him,
he's
man.
still really good. Like he's a solid player, and I'm telling you right now, the Spurs really got 2 for 1 when you think about it. When they traded Splitter to the Hawks
Yeah.
to clear up that cap space, what people don't realize is that not only did they sign LaMarcus Aldridge, they were able to get David West, and that to me is almost as if they traded Splitter to the Hawks for 2 players. And
Yeah. Fair enough.
people still haven't realized that the Spurs have picked up 2 great players, not 2 mediocre players,
Great
two
players. Yeah.
great players. We're talking about very good players, and when you look at David West and Aldridge, I can already see the problems they're going to give the Warriors just in the post alone. The Golden State Warriors are not going to have an answer for Marcus Aldridge. They're not going to have an answer for David West because all they're going to do is pound in the paint, and that's going to give the Warriors a lot of problems.
Not only
If the
that,
Warriors,
but when you get on the wing and you have Kawhi Leonard coming out and being able to defend Stephen Curry or even switch off on Klay Thompson, they showed in the finals that if you really put a body up against them,
oh yeah,
you got them locked in, man. They're done. If you have a quick defender that has a large wingspan and they
yep,
play really close and in proximity as far as defense goes, it messes up his game because
yep,
he needs that space to shoot. Even if it's like a split second, that's
yeah.
all he needs. But if you're crowding him, you got him, man.
And the one player that does that the best is Kawhi Leonard. He's
Yeah,
the one that disrupts your offense. He's the guy that he reads the passing lanes, probably
that's
just as good as anybody else in the
that's why he's
NBA.
defensive player of the year.
Yep. And
Even the Coach K, said that
yeah.
Kawhi Leonard was one. He's probably one of the best defenders that he's ever seen.
Oh yeah, he said he's the best defender in the world right now.
Yeah,
In the world.
yeah. I mean, that's a big statement, and it's probably I'd have to agree with them. I mean, he's a great defender. He's quick and he has those huge hands, dude, and he's got that long wingspan. You know,
Yep.
so people
Hmm.
they think, oh, he might not be all that tall, but his wingspan it makes up for it, man.
Yeah.
It's deceiving.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, another topic we're going to talk about is something I was talking to Thomas about, and it's an article that came out on Spurs Chat Sports. Basically, the article goes on to say that the Spurs championship window is quickly closing due to the fact that they have Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili. Uh, they're getting up there in years, and so is Tony Parker and LaMarcus Aldridge, the new acquisition. They said, pretty much that they're everybody knows that they're all over 30, and Greg Popovich, he's going to be the coach for a couple of years to come, but they're saying because of the current roster right now that we have, the championship window is quickly closing to win a championship with our big three and the new acquisition LaMarcus Aldridge in the mix. I kind of agree that yes, with the current roster, winning an NBA title, that window of opportunity is quickly going to close because we're going to have possibly, maybe Tim Duncan might retire this year. Who knows? But we know for sure Manu Ginobili is. But is it going to close and they're not going to be in the mix and be spoken about as far as they're not going to be title contenders anymore? I don't agree with that. I think that we still have a great team, a great coach, and the acquisitions that we got in the offseason. I mean, we could still be in the mix for years to come. And what do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, I think anytime I hear people talking about the Spurs championship window, I go back to 2007, and the reason why I bring that up is because in '07, a lot of people already had the Spurs written off. They had them written off years ago,
Yeah, we're
and
too old. We're too slow.
yeah, and that was back in 2007. We're in 2015, and the Spurs are still contending for championships.
Yeah.
So not only are people wrong about the window closing, that window should have been closed years ago. It should not only should have been closed, it should have a hatchet on it. It should have locks. It should have a security. What do you call that thing you put on your windows to keep the burglars out? It should have that.
Security system.
Yes, it should
And
have
weld
that.
it shut. They should have welded it
Loaded
shut.
shut and with a big lock on it, and it's still open. That I don't take any of those things seriously because it to me the Spurs are going to contend if they still feel like it. As long as they're motivated, they're going to still contend for championships. That's the thing about the Spurs. They just don't go away. They're like roaches in the night.
Or
It's like
zombies, man. They're like the zombies,
zombies,
dude.
and yeah, they're like things that mosquitoes. I mean, they're just there. Like anytime it rains, you're gonna get some mosquitoes after that long rain, and that's
Or
what the
like
Spurs
like
are
you
to
were
the
saying,
NBA.
dude. You're
Bunch
saying
of mosquitoes, man.
they're like a cucaracho from the hood, dude. No matter how many times you hit him with that chancla, that sucker get up and fly straight at you, man. You gotta literally burn that sucker, man, to kill him,
Yeah.
man.
So
That's
basically,
yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, I don't really take too much into that the window closing deal because people have been saying that for years. They come up with the same old excuses. They're old. They're this and that. Well, if they're old, why are they still winning? Why are they still contending? I don't get that part. Like, oh, they're old. Okay, and your point is they're winning.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still winning. I think we're going to be winning for many years to come. When Tim Duncan does decide to retire, and of course, Manu Ginobili is going to retire after this season. They're going to have players that can come in there and do an adequate job. Of course, no one's going to be able to ever duplicate what Manu Ginobili has done for the team. I think he's one of the best six men that the have ever seen and probably will ever see. So it's going to be hard to replace them. But I mean, they could find a player to do an adequate job. But you know, when we lose
Yeah.
these iconic Spurs players that have been an instrument and a staple, for so many years, that's a hard. It's hard to fill those shoes. But I think the Spurs have the talent out there, and I mean, RC Buford, Coach Pop, and the staff out there, they do a great job and in recruiting new talent. I mean, what do you think?
Oh yeah, when it comes to Coach Pop and RC Buford, they're probably one of the best coach and GM duels ever in professional sports. Just what they've been able to pull off so far. And you can go back and look at, from drafting Tim Duncan to making, to trading George Hill to the Pacers for Kawhi Leonard, now recently getting LaMarcus Aldridge. They find all these European players, overseas. They found Manu Ginobili. They found Tony Parker. And you know what? I'll tell you what, if they would have never had found him and those guys, would have been gone to different teams, I don't think they would have developed the same. A lot of people forget that, a lot of people argue that, well, Tim Duncan and Pop, they've always had great players around them. They always had Ginobili and Parker, but people don't realize they tend to forget that Popovich and Duncan actually helped molded Tony Parker to become the player that he is today. They helped molded Manu Ginobili to make him the player that he is today as well. They forget those things. They forget
I remember how hard Pop was on Tony during his rookie year. He was getting mad at him. He was laying into him, screaming at him at every other play. Even Tony Parker says how hard Pop was on him, but he says, you know what? It made him the player that he is today.
Yeah,
because he demanded perfection. Just going out there and half-assing it wasn't good enough. You gotta play at the top of your game. He wanted the best out of him, and he sure enough got it.
Yeah, he did. And so RC Buford, and Pop, they're just, when it comes to finding players, when it comes to finding great talent, and not only talent, but players that fit their system and their way of playing the game, they're the best at it. There isn't any other GM out there. One could argue maybe Mitch Kupchak, but the Lakers nowadays, they're not attracting free agents like they should be. And
no, because all they're doing is
it's not his fault.
On Hollywood.
And it's not really his fault. It's their owner's fault. Jim Buss.
Yeah.
He's ruined it for the Lakers. I mean, they're struggling because of him. And I said this years ago that this was going to happen, and I hit the nail on the coffin because I predicted this years ago that was going to happen. Because anytime you have a guy that doesn't know what he's doing, and even in business in general, there's people who buy businesses and they drive them into the ground, and they can be a successful business. But if you have someone that doesn't know what they're doing, they'll just drive that business into the ground. And but other
the
than
Lakers
that,
really hadn't had a rebuilding year since I can remember. They haven't had that where they're one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, that just goes with the territory. I mean, look at the Spurs. We were one of the worst teams in the league. And then what happened the next year? We drafted Tim Duncan.
Yep.
It's just one of those things.
It's a part of sports in general, even in the NFL. And Major League Baseball. It's just part of the game.
Yeah, you got to go through some pains. You could be at the top of your game, and all of a sudden, the talent doesn't come over. And you're going through some hard times, and you'll go and you'll get back up there again, but it's going to take a number of years.
Yeah.
So another thing I wanted to talk about too is Tim Duncan's award, man. Being the teammate of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great accomplishment. I think. I mean, it just proves to show, I guess, goes to show what type of caliber of player he is. Not only is he a great basketball player on the court, he just tends to make everybody else, and not just himself, good, but everyone else that he's around. He's just one of those special players.
Oh yeah, that award that he got there's a lot of very interesting things about it, and actually, the Twyman Award was actually made, in my opinion, for Tim Duncan. Because I don't know if you read an article. I was reading an article on the Express News, and there's a little piece from it. His name is Jack Twyman, and this guy was on pretty much his deathbed, and his son had a memory about him, and he said this about his dad, and he said that Jack Twyman, he really liked the way Tim Duncan was a player. He said Tim Duncan was, and how well he was a great passer. He was impressed with how well he shot the ball, and he was like impressed with Duncan, and he said, wow, this guy can really play. It's really poetic how the award finally is going to Tim. And it's true, and when you think about it, that award was almost created because of Tim Duncan, that these people that came up with these awards, they saw what Tim Duncan was doing as a teammate even years ago, and they said, you know what, we're going to come up with these awards. And obviously, what Chauncey Billups won it 2 years ago, and I think last year it was Shane Battier, and this year was Tim Duncan. This award was specifically made because of Tim Duncan, and it's only fitting that it went to him this year.
Yeah.
Because Tim Duncan, you talk about the greatest teammates. I mean, look how many championships he's won for all these NBA players that have played with him. He won what? How many? He won 2 for Robert Horry. He won 2 championships with Robert Horry.
Yeah.
Robert Horry even admitted that if he helped him win another championship, that he would put him ahead of Shaq. And this was in 05. He said, if Tim Duncan wins me one more championship, he's better than Shaquille O'Neal. And he did it. He did it.
Tim Duncan has actually even won more awards than Kobe Bryant.
Oh, yeah.
And they're saying that Kobe Bryant's one of the best, NBA players of all time. Well, you know what? I believe Tim Duncan should be in that discussion too.
Oh, yeah.
He has the hardware. He has the hardware to prove it,
Yeah. He has in all the accolades and all the milestones. They keep piling up. You can't ignore that.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to go down as the best power forward, I believe, in NBA history.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no doubt about that. Hey, another topic I was going to bring up real quick too. I know you keep an eye on this just as I do. But did you see that the Spurs tickets are the highest that they've ever been on the secondary market, specifically for 3 key games? And they're not even games. These are 2 games that aren't even occurring here. One of the highest price tickets is going to be for the Spurs when they play the Golden State Warriors over at the Oracle Arena. You're talking about an average ticket price, I think, of somewhere in the neighborhood of like $838 just for the nosebleed.
Oh, man.
And then they were talking about the OKC game and playing over, in Oklahoma at the Chesapeake Arena. And I think the tickets were somewhere in the neighborhood of about around that range too, about $800, $700 just to get in the door. And then the third highest price ticket is when the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to play the Spurs here at the AT&T Center. Just to get in the door, the average ticket price is going to be $71.
Mighty.
And I mean that's never happened, and it's because the caliber of team that we have. We're like the super team now in the NBA. So when the Spurs come to town, they're going to warrant that ticket price. So guys, if y'all haven't got your little mini packs or anything of that nature for this year, I'd strongly suggest you go out there and get them, because I think there's going to be a sticker shock this year when people try to go and buy some tickets online. They're going to say, "Wow," it's going to set you back. It's going to set you back some good money this year to see some key matchups.
Oh yeah,
especially the opening night. Especially the opening night here in the AT&T Center is going to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, normally when I attend games, I only go pretty much weekend games. That's pretty much all I can do. But pretty much a big match. I'd rather watch. I mean, and I want to be there. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not about to shell out that much money. That's too much. It's too much for a lot of people.
Yeah, but I mean, if you get those mini packs, and how they have games where you can strictly stick to weekend games only, for half a season, I think that might not be a bad idea, because you'll still see some great matchups, and of course you'll be able to enjoy the overtime. After the game, you go out and hear the live band and all that. Just hang out with your buddies and stuff. That's it. Especially the Spurs win, you're gonna want to celebrate.
Yeah, and actually, like this year. Yeah, like this year, I'm actually looking forward to it. With the renovations, I'm still curious as to see how it's going to all play out and all come out, and I'm looking forward for that.
Well, I can tell you firsthand.
It's going to be.
I can tell you firsthand. I was at the AT&T Center a couple weeks ago. There's still a lot of construction they're doing in there. I mean, the place looks totally different. And it's just, they're just doing the construction and stuff. I mean, I can't report that, I saw something, that I can't talk about. I mean, the place is just unrecognizable because of all the construction going on.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of work to be done still. And it's amazing to me how seeing it in the condition that it was, how it's going to look on opening day is going to be amazing. You know,
Oh yeah, great. Yeah,
I
it
can't
is.
wait. I can't wait to see what what it looks like.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm waiting.
Yeah. And what about the schedule? I know you saw the schedule come out, and this is what I had asked on Facebook too. Uh, and some people get mad. You know, it's just crazy. I just put it as, I agree. All the games are important. We should all go and see all the games. Or, even if we don't go to the AT&T Center, we're going to watch them on TV. Every game's important.
Hmm.
But come on, people. There's 5 games out of the whole season that are going to be key matchup games that you guys want to see. You know, uh, Spurs at Thunder. When the Spurs play the Thunder, I think that's always going to be a good ticket right there. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to us playing Golden State. Looking forward to us playing the Cavs. Of course, everybody's looking for the rematch for the Clippers. You know,
Oh yeah.
and Houston. Houston's always a good matchup. Who doesn't want to see that game?
Yeah.
So I mean, those are pretty much the 5 games that I think that I'd like to see. Not only that, but I'd have to add at the top of my list when the Spurs play the Portland Trailblazers for the first time this season. I mean, that's
Oh,
going to be hyped up so much. Everybody's going to watch that game.
yeah.
So I mean, what are your top fives this year?
Oh man, I'm just gonna have to say ditto.
I gave the top 6, but
I
I
mean,
mean, those are the
yeah,
matchups that I want to see. I'm looking forward to seeing this year.
yeah, yeah. That's pretty much the same, man. The teams you just mentioned are the teams that I was gonna about to say. Uh, yeah, I mean, anytime the schedule comes out, you always look at it. I'm one of those people that always does that, and you always, from time to time, you'll see me post a schedule, a customized schedule of it. I'm still trying to get one made. Hopefully, I can get some customizable ones. But
Tattoo
yeah,
one on your arm, dude,
no,
because they're going to win this year.
oh, I don't want to go that
No,
far.
I'm just playing with you, man.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I mean, those are some key matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing this year. I think it's going to be some great games, some great matchups I want to see. And of course, I want to get my revenge. I want us to get our revenge on the Clippers, man. I want us to destroy them by like 30
yeah.
points.
Oh yeah.
Lob City and DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan, all the brother can do, he can jump real high, and he has great
Yeah.
athleticism, but he's just not much of a shooter, and a free throw shooter either.
He doesn't have a lot of. He doesn't have any offense.
Yeah,
He's
he
just.
kind of reminds me of the way Blake Griffin was in the first couple of years when he came into the league. He was just very strong, very athletic. He could just, do some crazy dunks and jump really high. But then as the years started going on, he started saying, you know what, if I want to be kept in the game in the fourth quarter, I got to be able to sink some free throws. I got to add a little in between game, at least a 10 to 15-foot jump shot. And he's been playing a lot better, but DeAndre Jordan, I'll give him his credit, man. He's a great athletic player, but until he adds some more firepower to his arsenal, he's always going to be one-dimensional.
Yeah.
You can have all the athleticism in the world, but if you can't hit a 10 to 15-foot jump shot in crunch time, you're not going to be. They don't want you on the floor
Hmm.
because you're more of a
Oh yeah.
liability. Just especially when they start pulling the hack of Jordan on you.
Yeah, and you
That's
can't
not
get
helping the team.
and you can't get mad at that because that's all a part of strategy, and
Yeah,
they're not going to take away that hack a shack. And everybody gets mad, but hey, it's part of the game. You can't. It's not our fault. You can't hit a free throw.
yeah. Hey,
If you don't want us to foul you, practice your damn free throws.
yeah. At least
I mean,
hit one. At least hit one of the two.
yeah, every time. Don't miss them both all the time.
Yeah. But I mean, it's great
Yeah,
strategy. I agree. People hate it, but you know what it does? It stops the game. It slows it down, and it changes the pace of the game in favor of. Sometimes
but
it changes it in favor of the other team.
that's a part of the game. That's why they call it strategy.
Yeah. And Popovich is the mastermind behind all that. He's a great coach.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
Mm, not that I can think of.
Yeah. I
We
mean, those
pretty
are
much covered it.
Yeah, those were the hot topics that I saw that came out, earlier in the week. Just want to one note, guys, that we're probably going to plan something for September the 27th, another outing. I'll let you guys know more of the details as we kind of get everything lined up and put together. But we're planning on maybe doing something for September the 27th, which is on a Sunday, for the Ciclovia event. I don't know if anybody's ever been to that here in town, downtown San Antonio. They close off a section of Broadway, like a little mini parade route, and they invite all the families to come out from San Antonio, and it promotes health and fitness, and you can even bring the dog if you want. And you got the run of the street. You can bring the kids out, get on, bring the wagon, bring the bike, bring the dog. Everybody goes out and walks. It's kind of like a fun little mini parade almost. We plan on doing something out there. As details become more organized, we'll let you guys know, but that's something to look forward to. So I mean, that's all we have for that's all we have time for today. So until next time, guys, go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs, go.